Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my Week 3 college football picks for the 2020 college football season. Before I continue, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. Really try and grow the channel. We're very close to 300, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You will not regret it. So, usually I start off with how we did last week. I forgot to keep track of that. That's my fault. Usually, I have a sheet of paper or I do it on my phone. I've been doing it on my phone for the past year. I keep track of it, and unfortunately, I forgot to last week, so I'm just gonna have to skip that portion of the video this week, and it'll be in next week's portion of the video when we do this next Wednesday. But that gives me a window to talk about the Big Ten returning. The Big Ten is returning on October 24th with 9 games. I know a lot of the reports say 8 games. It's 9 games. That ninth game is on December 19th, and basically, it's you're playing a cross division game against a team that finished in the same place as you. So 7 teams in each division, 14-team conference. So, for example, the first place versus first place team, they are going to be playing in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship game that night. If I was reading it correctly, but everybody else, like for instance, Maryland, I'm a Maryland Terps fan. I know we're not finishing in first place. I'm not going to think about that. But let's say we finish, I don't know, in fifth place, and Nebraska out of the West finishes in fifth place. We'll be playing Nebraska. I don't know where the game would be at. It's whoever has the better statistics, like probably home record, maybe better conference record, stuff like that. And that will be your ninth game of the season on December 19th. So I like it. I wish it was 10 conference games. I still think they should have started it on the 10th, possibly the 17th. You're hearing the 17th floated around. And then all of a sudden it came out they're starting on the 24th. But the good news is that the Big Ten's back. They will be able to compete for a college football playoff spot or two, depending on how many teams come out of the Big Ten. And my top 25 tomorrow, the McD Sports 4 top 25, usually comes out on Mondays, but unfortunately, I was pretty busy. I had spotty internet for basically the whole weekend, but now it's fixed, and it's going to be coming out tomorrow. So that's why I've been holding off on that as well because of my internet, but also because I want to see what the Big Ten is doing. The Mountain West and the Pac-12 are not coming back. The MAC came out saying they have no plans, so they're not coming back either. And the main reason why the Pac-12 is not coming back in the Mountain West is primarily because of these wildfires. They cannot play in that air quality. Washington, Oregon, at least the Northern California teams. I don't know so much about the Southern California teams. I know those teams in California, Oregon, basically sent a letter to their governors, but they cannot play with that air quality right now. So and it's going to take several months of that air quality, I think, to actually be good enough because these wildfires are out of control out west. All my prayers, my heart, it goes out to the people that live on the West Coast that are suffering from these wildfires. But there's gonna be no Pac-12 or Mountain West football because of that. Like I know they'll be canceling games, at least in Oregon. That big Ohio State Oregon game would have either been moved to Columbus or they'll have find a neutral site for that game because there's no way they're going to be playing that game in Oregon for week 2 that air quality. So that's the main reason why, not so much because of COVID, even though supposedly they can't play football in that state because of COVID restrictions. So keep an eye out on that. I know the president, who, by the way, let's thank the president for President Trump for being playing a big role in getting the Big Ten football back. I mean, he started the conversation. Him, Clay Travis, paying pressure on the parents protesting and all that. He said we need to get the Pac-12 back. I just don't see it because of the air quality, not because of COVID so much because of the air quality. I know they canceled the baseball game in Seattle because of it, so that's something to keep your eye on there. But hopefully they will get back at some point. Even if they said at earliest mid-November, they're not coming back mid-November because of the air quality. So they may want to do a spring season. I personally think they should just cancel the whole season in general and just get ready for next year. But we'll see what happens. But that's enough about that topic. But I'm thrilled that the Big Ten's back because I'm a Maryland Terps fan. And hey, we're getting 9 games, so that always makes me happy. But anyways, 18 games I'm gonna be picking for you this week. 18 games, 14 straight up, two locks of the week, two upsets. Upset in McD Sports 4 books is you gotta be a 3 point a 3 point underdog. Locks of the week, you could be favored by anything. And then 14 straight up, I pick against the spread, and I give you an actual score and straight up pick as well. So basically, here we go. First game, Louisiana, and I spelled Louisiana wrong. That's my fault. Versus Georgia State. Um, Georgia State, a 17-point underdog at home. Um, Listen, Georgia State last year they went in and beat Tennessee, and they ended up having a decent season in the Sun Belt at least. Louisiana, to me, is the best team in the Sun Belt. I think Louisiana does win this game. But I'm going to say that Georgia State covers here. I think that Georgia State, in my opinion, plus 17, just a bit too much for me. I know Louisiana's coming off a big-time win last week against Iowa State. They're actually ranked up in 19 in the AP poll. We'll see if they're ranked tomorrow in the McD Sports 4 poll. But overall, I think Louisiana still wins this game, but 17 a bit too much for me. I'll take Louisiana though by 2 touchdowns. In these straight up picks, I'll take Louisiana. I'll go 34-20 Louisiana. Next game, Florida Atlantic versus Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, a 1.5 point favorite at home. They won that triple option. It's going to be tough to stop. Florida Atlantic, they'll bring in a new coach. Who is their new coach, by the way? Oh, yeah, Larry Taggart. Definitely give me Georgia Southern in this one to win and cover that 1.5 points. I'll take Georgia Southern in this one. I'll say 23-17 Georgia Southern. Next game, Wake Forest versus NC State. Wake Forest last week, they went ahead and lost to Clemson. No shame in that. They actually covered the spread. A lot of people were saying that Clemson was going to cover that minus 33. I came over here and said they weren't going to cover it, and I proved to be right as they only won that game by 24. Wake Forest, I think might go in here and win this game. I think NC State. This is their first game of the season, if I'm not mistaken. NC State, I'm very not high on. I wasn't high on them before this whole schedule switcheroo because of COVID. I'm still not very high on them, especially if ACC play. They are the only team that does not have to play Clemson and Notre Dame, I believe. So that's interesting. I went back and forth for this one. I'm going to go Wake Forest. I'm going to take the minor upset here. I'll go Wake Forest +2. They'll win this game because I just think Wake Forest is honestly a better team. There's no fans in North Carolina in the month of September. They're hoping to get fans in October and November and December, obviously. But Wake Forest, they'll go ahead and I think they go ahead and get this win here. I'll say they win this game. Bit of a shootout. I'll go 39-34. Kind of a weird scoring game. I'll say they win by 5. Next game, Charlotte versus North Carolina. Uh, Listen, North Carolina, kind of slow start last week, but they picked it up against Syracuse. More Syracuse in a second, by the way, but they picked it up and they basically ran them out the building 31-6, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 30-6, something like that. They're playing a Charlotte team that I said they were going to lose last week to Appalachian State. More on Appalachian State in a second, which they did, but I said Appalachian State wouldn't cover that minus 17, which I was correct in. North Carolina, a 29-point favorite at home. That is a bit too much for me. North Carolina will win this game, but go ahead and give me Charlotte plus 29. North Carolina, in my opinion, I mean, if they could have only beat Syracuse by 24, they're going to beat Charlotte by about the same. I'll take North Carolina in this one. I'll say they win by 23, actually. I'll go 41-18 North Carolina in this one. Next game, Boston College versus Duke. We saw Duke last week against Notre Dame, a game that I picked correctly against the spread, saying I believe they were about 20-point underdogs. And I said Duke, I'll take Duke plus 20 on that all day, and they end up covering, only losing by 2 touchdowns. And they were in that game for a good portion of it. Kind of got away from them a little bit. Some people are going around saying Notre Dame was underwhelming, which I kind of agree with. But give Duke credit for keeping that one competitive at least. Boston College, probably one of the worst teams in the ACC. Is a whole new coaching staff up there, new quarterback. I mean, so we'll see what happens. But overall, Duke at home -6. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Duke Blue Devils. I like them. I like enough of what I saw last week. I saw enough that I liked from Duke last week, and I'm gonna say to go ahead and win this one. Actually, by 2 possessions, I'll go ahead and pick Duke, the Blue Devils. I'll say I'll take -6, and they go ahead and win this one, 26-17, a 9-point win for the Duke Blue Devils. Next 5 games. Your game of the week right here is Miami versus Louisville. It is a top 25 matchup. I believe it's 18 versus 19, if I'm not mistaken, if I look at the AP pool correctly. Or is like 20 versus 21. I think it's 18 versus 19, though. I think Louisville's number 18, Miami's number 19, or something like that, or Miami's like number 21. It's kind of it's not a top 15 matchup, but it is a top 25 matchup. It's our only top 25 matchup. This is your ABC night game. Game day is actually going to be here. I don't know if they're going to be having fans here at game day. I know North Carolina is wearing some very strict restrictions. I don't know so much about Kentucky. But Louisville is a 2.5-point favorite at home. Give me Louisville to win and cover this. Louisville is just a better team than Miami. I know last week I was debating who's the better team. I rewatch all these games, or at least the highlights of these games. Louisville's offense, in my opinion, is good enough to put up enough points against Miami. This defense is coming along from Louisville. I know they struggle against Western Kentucky, but they run a good offense there at Western Kentucky, especially with the former Maryland quarterback Terrell Pigram. So keep that in mind if you're Western Kentucky. More on them in a second, but I'm gonna go ahead and take Louisville. They're at home. I don't know the fan count there, but I'll go ahead and say they win this game. I think back and forth game here. I'll go 30-27 Louisville. They win by field goal. I get Louisville -2.5. I'll take the -2.5. Next game, Syracuse versus Pitt. Pitt's a 21.5-point favorite. Syracuse, their defense isn't bad, but their offense is pitiful. The Syracuse fan will even tell you that. Pittsburgh, they shut out Austin Peay 55-0. I don't know really to say. There's really nothing to go off on that because Austin Peay lost to Central Arkansas as well. I believe Austin Peay they play Cincinnati if I'm not mistaken. This week Austin Peay. We're not picking that game, but Cincinnati will win that. But Pittsburgh -21.5 at home. I don't think they're having fans there in Pittsburgh. Um, Pittsburgh's definitely winning this game. 21.5 though. Um, Pat Narduzzi's teams tend to be like kind of a gut you out type of team. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and take Syracuse +21.5, but I'm kind of scared because this game I think can turn into something like 35-7, and that'll be the final. I would stay away from this one, -21.5. I think that's a very good number. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence. I just said I would take Syracuse +21.5. I don't think Pittsburgh is as good as a team as North Carolina, but as I said, I think they could beat them the same way North Carolina beat Syracuse, like something like 30-6 or 31-6. I'm actually going to change my mind here. I have Syracuse on my cheat sheet here, +21.5. I'm picking Pitt -21.5. I just feel like Pittsburgh's going to win this game because I just feel like they could win a game. I mean, they could very well win this game something like 27-3, and I will be covering the spread. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Pittsburgh here. I'm going to say to go ahead and win this one 31-7. 24-point win for the Pittsburgh Panthers over the Syracuse Orange. Next game, your CBS game of the week, not your SEC game of the week. CBS game of the week. Still, 2 teams from the South, obviously the Southeast and the Appalachian State out of North Carolina, and Marshall out of West Virginia. Marshall, they definitely have fans because I watched one of their games before. they definitely have fans. That game was against Eastern Kentucky. And by the way, Marshall's the best team in West Virginia. They beat Eastern Kentucky better than West Virginia did. Marshall, the 4.5 point underdogs here. I thought about picking the upset. I'm not gonna do it though. But I am actually gonna go ahead and I am gonna take Marshall plus 4.5. But I think Appalachian State's gonna win this game by a field goal because I just think they're a bit better than Marshall right now. But Marshall's not a bad team for Conference USA, and Appalachian State, in my opinion, as of right now, is the second best team in the Sun Belt behind Louisiana. And Appalachian State, I think, will win this game. I'll go 34-31 Appalachian State. I will be watching this game because I think this is one of the more interesting games of the week right here. But go ahead, give me the Mountaineers beating the other team and Marshall. Oh, yeah, wait. It's Appalachian State, not West Virginia. So Appalachian State beats Marshall 34-31, but they don't cover the minus 4.5. Next game, Liberty versus Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's getting 14.5 point favorite here. Liberty, I believe this is their first game of the season. I don't know what we're getting out of them exactly. They seem to be one of the better teams in college football every year, at least record-wise. The past few years, talent-wise, they're obviously not there. But I do think this could be a good game. 14.5. I'm actually going to take Liberty plus 14.5 Barry. But Western Kentucky will win this game by 2 touchdowns. I'll go ahead and take Western Kentucky in this one. I'll say they win 38-24. Western Kentucky has a good offense. Tyson Helton, their head coach, very good offensive mind there. Could be looking at him getting a Power 5 job here in the near future. Next game, big matchup here in the Conference USA rivalry game. Usually some of the better teams here in the Conference USA. Usually two of your better teams. Louisiana Tech versus Southern Miss. Southern Miss is getting 5.5 points at home. Southern Miss head coach kind of quit on them. I think they could be looking for a season going down south. I should have thrown this in my upset picks, but I didn't. But I am going to take Louisiana Tech plus 5.5, and I do think they actually win this game because I just do not have a good feeling about Southern Miss at all because their head coach, Jay Hobson, decided to just quit after one game after getting upset by South Alabama. Louisiana Tech, they'll win this game. I'll go ahead and pick them 31-24. They'll win by a touchdown. I should have thrown this in my upset picks, but I have two upsets and 2 locks, and I didn't want to make it uneven. So go ahead. I'll take the upset, Louisiana Tech versus Southern Miss. And then 4 more games. 3 of these were add-ons, which means I think they were. I know the Tulsa Oklahoma State game, which was pushed back a week. Houston Baylor was just recently scheduled, and South Florida Notre Dame. I thought that was scheduled like a month ago, but I could be wrong on that. But anyways, the game that isn't a add-on, SMU versus North Texas. North Texas is getting a 14-point underdog at home. SMU looked very questionable against Texas State. More on them in a second. North Texas, in my opinion, people are high on that head coach, Seth Luttrell, despite a pretty piss poor season last year. Plus 14 at home. SMU, I did not like what I saw from them at all last week. Or 2 weeks ago, rather. I think this could be one of these games that could be tight, but also I could be wrong about SMU. 14 points is a very good point spread for this game. I would definitely stay away from this one. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take North Texas plus 14, but SMU still wins. But this one, I'm going to say they win by 10. I'll go 38-28 SMU in this one. Shane Buechele, obviously, he's there one more year, I believe. North Texas, they'll compete, but SMU is just a better team. And people are still high on SMU for this year, even though despite the Texas State game, but they'll get the win. But I'm taking North Texas plus 14, 38-28. South Florida versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a 25.5 point favorite at home. Notre Dame last week, I thought was kind of underwhelming, as I said, against Duke. They still won the game by 2 touchdowns. So this is their non-conference game. South Florida, whole new coaching staff there. Probably one of the worst teams in the American, honestly. Notre Dame, I think, could possibly not cover only because they might get ahead, and South Florida maybe gets a backdoor cover. But I'm actually going to take Notre Dame minus 25.5. I'm going to trust Notre Dame wins this one. I'm going to say to go ahead and win this one here. I'll go ahead and say they win. Ian Book has sloppy game. I think he bounces back. I think they go ahead and win this one. I'll say, for the purposes of this video, I'll say they win this one. I'll go 48-21 Notre Dame. They win by 27 points. Next game, Tulsa, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's a 23.5 point favorite at home. This game was supposed to be September 12th. I bet you the Big 12 wish this game was September 12th because the Big 12 had a terrible week this past weekend with 3 teams losing to Sun Belt teams. Oklahoma State, in my opinion, could very well compete for that Big 12. I know Reggie Bush was picking them to make the college football playoffs. I'm sure that's out the window now since the Big Ten's back and Ohio State is playing. But they're getting 23.5. Tulsa's a team. I did throw Phil Montgomery in my hot seat. Basically, college football coaches on the hot seat, but that's kind of out the window of COVID. No one's really getting fired. The rest of things go really south, and they have big boosters at these schools. Oklahoma State, in my opinion, I like their offense. They don't play defense there. I'm going to say they win this game, and I'm actually going to say they cover. Now I'm kind of hesitant on that. This is a very good number, 23.5 for them. But I'm going to say they cover. I'm going to say they just win this one by 4 touchdowns. I'll go ahead and say they win this game. I'll go 42-14 Oklahoma State. Tulsa's kind of a rugged team, so they'll keep it a bit closer early, but Oklahoma State, they're just a better team. I think this offense is going to overpower Tulsa, and they'll go ahead and get the win there. Next game, Houston versus Baylor. Baylor is a 4.5 point favorite at home. This game was a last second schedule. It was Houston versus Memphis, but Memphis had some COVID testing, so they had to go ahead and do a last second switcheroo. So this is the game you're going to get, and this is your big noon kickoff game, Houston Baylor. Baylor, I think, needs to win this game for the Big 12 in general. Houston was not good last year. I don't know what we're getting out of them. Dana Holgerson, he's used to playing these Big 12 teams. He used to be the West Virginia head coach. I went back and forth for this one. I'm taking Baylor to win this game and cover though because I think Baylor's just a bit better. I know they lose a lot, but they still have the quarterback Charlie Brewer. And I want to say to go ahead and win this one. Tight game, though, only by a touchdown, kind of a shootout. 41-34 Baylor, though, in this one. I think Houston is going to bounce back some this year, as I've been saying throughout the offseason, but they'll lose this one. 41-34. Give me Baylor minus 4.5. Now, here are my two locks of the week. There we go. Here are my two locks of the week. I'm taking UCF minus 7.5 over Georgia Tech. I know Georgia Tech was my lock of the week last week, where Florida State was minus 12 against Georgia Tech, and that didn't work out. Listen, Georgia Tech is still a pretty bad football team. Florida State is just worse than them. UCF, I think, is a it's like a top 20-ish school, a top 20-ish team this year, and I feel like they're going to go ahead and get the victory against Georgia Tech in kind of convincing fashion because they want to show, like, hey, we want to get in the playoffs. Because there's still a chance that an American, a Conference USA, or Sun Belt could back themselves into a number 4 seed. So they want to show, like, hey, we could really beat Georgia Tech. And I think they'll beat them by at least 2 touchdowns. I'm taking UCF in this one. I'm going 45-26. I'm going to go UCF by 19 in this one. So I'll take UCF minus 7.5. And I'm taking Tulane minus 7. Tulane is a team, one of the better teams in the American. So is Navy. But Navy, they decided not to do tackle football. And don't get me started on why they didn't do that. Because I do not blame Navy for that. I actually I live in Maryland. I'm a Maryland Terps fan. And I actually blame our governor for that because supposedly Navy did not know, they couldn't clarify the restrictions and stuff, and basically it was confusing to them. So I actually blame our governor for that. And you saw what happened against BYU, 55-0, or 55-3 rather. I forget if they got a field goal late or something. But Navy, it's going to take a half season for them to fully get into football mode, and Tulane's going to beat them -7. I'll take the -7. Tulane beats them. I'll go ahead and take Tulane in this one. Not as bad as 55-0, but I say to go ahead and win this one. I'll say 35-17. They beat Navy by 18. And then my two upsets of the week: Texas State versus UL Monroe. UL Monroe's game +6. Um, Listen, UL Monroe. This is a Sun Belt matchup, by the way. I know Texas State's been impressive so far, playing they're 0-2, but two very close losses against teams that I would say are better than them. Um, and overall, this game will be close. But I'm going to take UL Monroe +6. It's their first game of the season. They are or it might be the second game of the season. They played Army and lost, but I think they bounced back. They're not a bad football team, and I think they go ahead and beat Texas State here. Actually, I'll go 27-24. They win it by a field goal. Um, and I'm taking UL Monroe. And then my other upset of the week: Troy versus Middle Tennessee. I don't believe Troy played anybody this year. I might be wrong. They might have played at FCS. I don't pick teams against FCSs because that's kind of a waste of my time, honestly. But Middle Tennessee, they did lose to Army 42-0. Both of these teams I'm picking lost to Army. But but Middle Tennessee, usually one of the better teams in the Conference USA. I think last year they kind of had an off year going. I think 4-8 if I'm not mistaken. But 3.5 at home. I'll take the upset here. I'll just roll with it. I could have very well thrown Louisiana Tech Southern Miss in this one. But I'll go with Middle Tennessee +3.5. They'll win this game. I'll say they win it 24-20 over Troy. Men of Troy. And Troy's not a bad football team. They had an off year last year as well. I think primarily because they had a new coaching staff since the former head coach Neil Brown went to West Virginia. But I think they bounced back some this year, Troy. But Middle Tennessee, they win 24-20. So those are my picks for week 3 of college football. Tell me your picks below. I always like hearing from you all. Thanks for watching. Hit the thumbs up button. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. Top 25 will be out. The McD Sports 4 Top 25 will be out this Thursday. Usually it's out Monday, but due to me being busy, my internet being spotty, I just decided to push it back to Thursday, and it'll be out this Thursday tomorrow. So thanks for watching. McD the Beast signing off.